Oh, you probably you can still hear me. I'm like waiting in silence. I'm on Instagram, ready when you are.
Hey everybody, let me see if I can figure out how to add Olivia. She should be invited now.
Woohoo! Hello, everybody. Emily, what's on your wall?
Oh, I got a neon sign. Do you like it? It says, I want it funnier.
What does it say? That's amazing. And is that like ivy on your wall?
It's kind of a work in progress. It's not finished yet.
Hey, Ricky.
Exactly.
You're so cool. And then I'm just sitting here.
Do you remember we have this
Diane.
old
Then I'm just sitting.
home video of us doing like funny gags in the closet mirror, and I was doing it wrong because I was like 3, and my dad was like, do it right, and John was like, no, I want it funnier. So that's like our catchphrase for everything. So I made a sign that says that.
That's amazing.
So
that's amazing.
My screen to you.
So should we explain why we're live to these people who are getting on and have no idea?
Yeah.
Because my friends never. So I mean, I'm just stereotype and guess that a lot of my friends will not be as interested in this. We've been recapping the Bachelorette season. So if you're not interested, no offense, feel free to leave. But we are hilarious.
Really good, and you're gonna love it. So just hang around.
It's very relevant. We're very hilarious. Our YouTube feed is even funnier. So that's what we're doing.
You can go over. Let me check the audio.
You can see like the pictures of the contestants and stuff. If you're not interested, I need to up my game for when we do Survivor.
Hold on, I lost your video on YouTube. Let me fix it really quick.
Hi, Sarah. Ooh, Emily, you should be offended because when you went live, your sister-in-law didn't join, but when it's on me going live,
oh, rude! How dare that ever happen?
So, Sarah, I know you love me most. I'm just kidding.
All right, so now people should be
offended because I can see it. When you went live, knock on wood, this is probably the least on me going live.
Oh,
difficulties we've ever had. Just kidding.
All right, cool. So if you want to keep doing
Sarah, I know you love me most.
Go ahead. I'm gonna.
Well, how about for the intro? Since Sarah's on here, why don't we just talk about how cute? I can see it. We are. So knock on wood, this is probably the least on me 5 minutes because the videos that Emily ever had, we could just talk about that. They're so cute. Oh my goodness. Okay. Intro. Wow, I didn't realize I had to have like a intro prepared. No. This was a doozy of an episode. This was hometowns. Because of COVID, there aren't hometowns. Hi, Robin. This is a Bachelorette recap, so feel free to stay or not, but we're hilarious and relevant. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, this was a doozy. This was hometowns and so much to talk about. And then hi, Hillary. And the next week, I think, is the finale. Yes. And I think it'll be a 2-nighter. So maybe we should just do it after both of them.
Yeah, the finales are going to be wild times. I'm looking forward to it. How many episodes are there usually per season? Is this
I don't remember.
Because that will be 10 episodes, right?
The other auntie. So because the only people on here course care about our children. So poor Hillary. Marlo has learned to say Aunt B for Auntie B for Brooke. But when we say, Marlo, can you say Auntie Hill? She says, Aunt B. So Hillary's a little bit salty because they're both just Auntie B to Marlo at this point. But she'll get it, Hillary. All right, so let's just walk through the other hometowns first, and then we'll get to Greg's because that was the doozy. And I have a lot of thoughts about it. I listened to another podcast today that was really interesting perspective that I was glad I listened to, because I got like all one way opinion. And then after listening to this, I was like, okay, I can see a little bit of both sides. So anyways,
oh, good. I want to hear what you have to say
hear
about
your
seeing
take.
both sides, because I was like, every time either one of them opened their mouth, I was like, okay, valid. Okay, I see where you're coming from. Okay, I see where you're both coming from. So,
well, and I was not. I was like, this is it. So anyways, okay, first hometown is Blake. And so the podcast I listened to, they were like, kudos to the art department for
what?
Kudos to the art department for
the hometowns.
Well, and for like trying so hard, because COVID's so rough, and they did such a great job. And I was thinking, that was like the most pitiful looking like Canada stuff. It literally looked like a hotel conference room that just had like a Canadian flag.
I know. It was terrible. It was worse than the Seattle, and then also was it Baltimore that was Justin's city?
Way worse.
It was like just that one graffiti wall that looked like so pitiful.
The only thing I thought was cute about Baltimore was the welcome to Baltimore sign. I was like, well, that's cute that they did that. Everything else, we're jumping ahead, but I did think it was hilarious. Justin really did a good job of being like, see, don't you love Baltimore? Like, he did a good job of like making fun of it. So I did like that. But yeah. So yeah, Canada looked pretty pathetic. And I was not impressed with the art team. But I mean, I guess, what are you going to do? COVID, man. What did you think of their hometown, the day portion before meeting a family? What do you think of all that?
Where they were like playing street hockey and stuff, and sad boy Greg was like just standing there staring out into space, like, and they had like the audio of them in the background echoing, and I was like, oh no, Greg.
Okay, but interesting perspective. Somebody was saying that could totally have been like Greg saw them on their date, like walking, like when he was walking back from the gym, he just like briefly saw them. And then, am I as laggy on the YouTube feed as I look to myself?
Prem said you're laggy. Why? Probably because your internet's not great. You look laggy in the Zoom call.
The end of it, and then there'll be Bachelor in Paradise. I don't know if we're going to recap all of them, but there'll be Bachelor in Paradise and Bachelorette again before Bachelor.
Sarah,
but we're going to do Survivor.
You should start watching with us.
Yeah, because we're so fun. But we're going to do Survivor, because that's why it's time well wasted, not a Bachelor recap, because we're going to do other reality. In fact, let's just talk about Big Brother. No, Channel change. So, anyways, all over the place, because I noticed how laggy I was, and changing my Wi-Fi didn't help. Sorry, guys. I can't hear you all of a sudden.
Who can't you hear, me or Liv?
Can you hear me, Emily?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, it must just be Sarah's connection then. Okay, I feel like people are going to quit watching this because we're all over the place. Okay, so back to the dates. So somebody was saying with Greg that like it's totally possible that he just saw them like in passing and was like, I was like, oh, thrown off by it. And then they were like, and he was saying how much it rattled him. And so they're like, oh, we need to get B-roll of Greg just like staring out on the balcony. So they were like, it's totally possible that he wasn't actually watching, because they never showed like a shot where you could see both things. And so they're saying
100%. Like the audio that they was looped in on in the background, it was a recreation, like a reenactment.
But yeah, so it's like I feel like they might have like, I'm sure he saw them, but I don't know that he was like watching their whole date.
Just standing there with binoculars, like
about to cry.
Oh no! Oh no! It's time!
I feel like if he was legit watching, he would have been more like. Instead of just
gouge my eyes out.
That's a cute look on me. Yeah, no, I felt like, so that was pitiful. Oh, and when they walked into the Canada portion, I was like, this looks just like what they did for Katie's hometown, because she was Canada. Or not her hometown. What was that? She did something.
Yes, Seattle.
No, yeah, it was, but there was, maybe it was just, well, because they did Seattle like outside. But what was the inside? I swear they had the same like inside setup.
Oh, I don't remember.
Oh, it must have been on Tayshia's season. I don't remember, but it looked exactly the same. So I was like, did they just repeat this? Whatever. But I felt like that was kind of lame. And then all of his stuff, I did appreciate because I love all those get to know you games. So I did appreciate the little questions and the balloons. I mean, it's not anything earth shattering, but at least it's an activity for them to do. The maple syrup thing was funny and weird and gross. Somebody was like, I feel like Blake looks for any opportunity to put something sexual in anything he's involved in.
Yeah.
I have this in my bedside table. Like, yeah, he's always got to take it that way. So that was funny and weird. But then, and then the riding the moose. The like fucking bronco moose, the mechanical bull moose.
Yeah.
Again, they had to make that sexual as well, of course. So
well, why else are we here?
But I felt like, again, I think it's just so hard being at this resort. It's like, it's hard to make things look cool and exciting. But the whole time I just kept thinking, this just feels like, I don't feel like, oh, they're so in love or they're so vibing. It was like, cool, they were friends hanging out. That's how I felt. That's the vibe I got.
From Blake specifically?
Yeah, from that one specifically. Totally. Like, they're just hanging. Like, they're having a great time, but they're just friends is what it felt. The vibe just felt boring and like they're just friends. And then when the night portion, and that was my cue to turn it over to you.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, like, his mom came in, like, real ready to question her and stuff. And then
on that podcast I listened to, they were like, well, you can tell that Emily Moynes, which is her name, that Emily has been waiting for her moment on television for her whole life, and she was ready to shine. She was, Mama Emily came in ready to go.
No kidding. Yeah, and then his sister, I was laughing because she's like, you say this about everyone, like, oh, this is the one, and like,
but I kind of liked that because I felt like she wasn't being a jerk to him, but she was just kind of like, I like that she was real while not being mean to him, you know. And then the brother was just kind of like, wasn't it the brother? Yeah, there was a brother on it too.
Yeah, I think so.
I couldn't remember. Yeah.
Right, and I kind of got that whole feeling from Blake too, just this entire time of just like, whatever, he's just having a good time. I didn't buy him actually.
Oh, I could totally see him proposing though. I just don't buy that he's in love with her, which is pathetic. Right, but I could I could totally buy that because he's just so like, I am all in it. I'm going to do it. Will you marry me? And then they'll get into real life and he'll be like, oh, every day to day. Yeah. So I liked Blake's sister. The mom was fine. She was just, she was supportive and sweet, but not, I mean, I feel like Katie handled herself. I mean, we'll get into the things she didn't handle well, but I feel like Katie handled herself pretty well with the families. And then I like that she explained here's why I'm not saying I love you. Because a lot of times it's just like, ee! And I like that she explained that and was upfront about it. And then she was like, was it to Blake's mom that she said, I'm just worried he's going to get hurt. And she was like, yeah, I mean, ultimately at the end of the day, everybody gets hurt except one guy. And I was like,
one girl.
That's what on the podcast today, they were like, she didn't think she was going to be the one getting her heart broken. But I appreciated that she was like kind and like built these guys up, but not like,
about it.
Yeah, not fakey or not being like, no, he's the one. Like, I like that she was being real. I appreciated that. She was kind but direct with the families. But yeah, like, overall underwhelming.
I could see her reasoning for like why she wasn't trying to just tell all of them that she loved all of them or even one of them when they were still,
especially in that setting. Yeah. So nothing else significant to me. I don't feel like the podcast I listen to thinks that it's no spoilers, but he thinks that she's gonna choose Blake. I should cite that it's the Vile Files with Nick Vile. But I think she's going to choose Blake because he thinks that she's got a good connection with him and is rooting for him. I'm not buying it, but I don't think she ends up with anybody. That's my personal guess.
I wouldn't be surprised either.
Yeah. Okay. So enough of Blake because boring. So next we move to Justin. How did you feel when poor Justin finds out his family can't be there for
Okay, first of all, his family couldn't be there or his family wouldn't be there. That was my question.
So there was a debate about that as well of like, could they not come because of like COVID reasons of like, hey, I don't have that much time to take off of work because you'd have to quarantine and whatever because the show makes you like be in a room for however long and then stay. So it'd be a big commitment time wise. So was it that, or was it that they just were like, no, we're not going to be on TV for this stupid thing?
It sounded to me like they didn't want to, and they used that as a reason.
And poor Justin seemed pretty bummed about it.
Yeah, because especially the way his mom was talking on the phone, she sounded like, like a disapproving, like controlling type mother. And she was like, we ain't trying to come out there because we already been told you that we are not on board.
And we don't wish you happiness.
Exactly. That's my
Justin
suspicion about what was really going on there. Because there were a couple of comments that he made that made
you missed my Justin eyes.
Oh, do it again? We'll do it at the same time.
Do it. That's gonna be my thing for this episode. My screenshot. Well, I still felt bad for him. I was glad he had two homies who were like, "We'll come in for you, man." But I thought that would feel lame to know that your family wouldn't even come out for it.
Yeah, right. And his friends, like the whole vibe with his friends, were kind of awkward. Like,
how is it going to be with like three dudes who are like, "Hey, mom"? They're not going to be like, "Katie, tell me everything."
Exactly. So they're like, "Well, he asked us to be here, so I guess we
better have a heart to heart, huh? No, I thought that was sweet of them. I thought they did well, but it was an awkward vibe. Like I was like, oh, this is awkward for all of them involved.
I know. And then when he finally told her that he was falling in love with her, she was like, thanks, buddy.
Well, and you heard what she said. She said, I'm proud of you.
Yeah, like, she said, I can see you fighting it.
I'm really proud of you for telling you how much you love me. Hi, Isaiah.
But like I get that on some level, right? Because I think they both know it's not them, and so he was.
John
just
should
practicing.
go on The Bachelorette. Sarah, you can actually.
No, John's going on Married at First Sight.
Oh, that'd be even better. You can. What's it called? Not submit him. What am I trying to say? You can like
nominate him.
Nominate him. Yeah. Sorry, I totally cut you off because Sarah cracked me up. They'll be like, who's this John Weber we keep seeing a thing for?
He'll be the Mike P of The Bachelor.
I'm buying him a cross necklace.
No. But anyway, back to what I was saying.
Yeah, sorry.
Like, I think it was literally just him practicing doing emotions because they were portraying him as like a thinker. So probably what was happening for real was, we know this is not a thing. I'm just practicing like doing emotions with you. And she was like, okay, I'm so proud of you.
Probably, but I do feel like these guys, they get so caught up in this day in, day out, like breathing, eating, sleeping, whatever. I'm not saying I think that he's actually in love with her, but I feel like they do, even though they say, no, I'm in it for love, they do view it as a game. And it's like, if I'm going to get to the next level, then I got to man up and do my feelings, so I think we're saying something similar, but I think it was more like he's trying to make it believable, but I think it was also like, he's like, well, if I'm going to make it to the next level, this is terrible. If you're watching from Facebook and you're younger, then just tune out when I say this, but it's almost like he was like, I want to get her to fantasy suites, then I guess I better play my cards.
Let me say these things for
the sake. How it felt to me. Yeah. Hi, Brooke. I can see that too. This is a thrilling, hilarious, insightful Bachelorette recap. We'll be doing Survivor starting next month, I think. Yeah. So Justin. Day portion, kind of to backtrack that real quick, and then let's get into all the Greg stuff because that's what we really have to talk about. So day portion, I felt like you said, super cheesy, but I did appreciate his sense of humor and that he was trying to like make a joke about see all this beautiful Baltimore when it's clearly like desert and stuff. something I was telling a friend earlier, we were talking about it, and I feel like I know you're probably going to disagree. I'm just going to say it. I've never been rooting for Justin. We haven't seen much of him. He's just been a nobody, and I still don't want her to pick him because I don't think they're right for each other. But the last 2 episodes or so, I'm like, I feel like if we had seen more of Justin from day one, we might be rooting for him to win.
Right. We would see at least why he's still there.
Because the last 2 episodes, I've been like, you guys actually kind of have some chemistry and you're actually kind of funny. And like, he's been endeared to me the last 2, whereas before, like, who is this? Like the podcast I was listening to today, anytime it'd say, and Justin, the guest, Wells Adams, would be like, oh, that's his name? Like as a joke, like, because nobody even knows who he is.
Just call him Googly Eyes.
Bug eyes. Yeah. So I feel like I don't want him to win because I think that there's a reason he wasn't highlighted earlier on, so I don't think they probably worked together, but I would have been rooting for him earlier.
I just realized what the twist is going to be. That she's going to say, I don't like either of you because Greg left, and then Brendan's going to come back and Brendan's going to win.
Canadian Brendan?
The guy that was like, you haven't given me enough time, I'm leaving.
Yeah, that's Canadian Brendan.
Oh, is he Canadian?
Ooh, hot goss. So apparently, if you keep up with Bachelor World, you probably heard this before me. But I just learned today that Blake and Brendan knew each other before The Bachelor, and that Brendan was PO'd that Blake showed up because they were buddies. They were good friends. And he was like, dude, you're the one that encouraged me to be here. Why would you come on and try to fight with me over the same girl? So there was some drama about that. Yeah. But that's an aside. I think
it's like a nepotistic and incestuous reality TV world. Because remember what we were saying about that chick that was making out with Connor B. That was also making out with Kyland from Big Brother. It's like that reality TV circuit.
No, she wasn't making out with Kyland. They're BFFs. They're homies.
Same diff.
I love it. So I think I'd be rooting for Justin if they'd given him more screen time. But alas, I'm not. Family portion, awkward because his family wasn't there, but his poor little friends tried their hardest, and Katie tried not to be awkward, but it made me feel a little bit bad for Justin because they're like, we've never seen Justin this PDA and this emotionally open, and we think he's finally happy. Like, he's the happiest with you we've ever seen, the most like open version of himself. And it's like, well, he's about to get his heart broken. So poor Justin. All right, enough of Justin. Let's move to the meat where it all went.
I like that. I wrote down one of the very first things that she said after the whole, like, I'm so proud of you for saying your emotions, Justin, was like, what I really like about Greg is that he just expresses himself really easily. And I was like, okay, we're gonna just dunk even harder on poor Justin.
Oh, that's so terrible. Oh, and that's the other thing I forgot. Okay, and then we really will move forward. But I forgot they were saying on the podcast on Biofiles that it was really, I didn't catch this. It was really interesting when the friend was like, so tell me a little bit about yourself. And she was like, well, when they asked me if I wanted to be the Bachelorette and date 31 guys, I wasn't sure if I could do it. And like, instead of being like, oh, I like pizza and I'm from Seattle, like she immediately jumps to like, yeah, isn't it crazy? I'm the Bachelorette. Like, no, duh, you're the Bachelorette. And so they were just saying it's like she's adopted this persona and become like, she's so in the mentality, which played into their whole theory later of part of why she reacted the way she did with Greg. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, right. Like she has to play the part of it.
So, Greg's date. First of all, I'm going to start us off. I was surprised because we see him like all mopey about seeing her and Blake together. And so I was like, he's going to start out moody and insecure. And instead he was like, Katie, and just like hugging her and kissing her and acting like, oh my word, I'm so in love with you. I'm so happy. And that surprised me because I expected him to come in all like morose and just morose.
Yeah, it did. But as soon as I realized that was happening, like I was immediately like, okay, he's legit her favorite. She doesn't care about the other two guys. And also, they haven't been showing them having fun as much as probably they did. Like, they were showing sad boy Greg as much as possible.
Oh, throughout the season. Okay, yeah. Yes. Okay, so remind me what they did on their date? Because all I remember is them blowing up at the night portion.
They played basketball because he hasn't refused to play basketball since his dad died. And then he was like, he's so obsessed with the rain. He's like, oh, and remember how we did the rain? Guess what? More rain! Ah!
And I'm surprised he didn't go. Agreed. That's a meme I saw last week was like, Greg, when Katie says, you know, when they have this romantic talk, Greg's like, and Greg sees the rain and is like, Greg's more excited about rain than about Katie. No, the basketball thing, I did think, poor Greg. I'm sure he's just trying his hardest and he's just a poor little guy, but he was like, yeah, my dad used to, like, I'm not making fun of it. That's horrible that he lost his dad. But he, like, talks about how emotional it is that he lost his dad and basketball was their thing. And then he goes, I haven't really played in a while. And, I mean, I don't really know why. And I'm thinking, you literally just said it's because it's too emotional because you missed your dad.
I literally wrote that down. I wrote down, Mr. I don't know why, Greg.
It's like, oh, that just killed me. I'm like, of course you're sad because of your dad. But then to be like, yeah, it was my dad's and my thing, and I don't know why I stopped.
I don't know why I'm so sad because my dad died. Weird.
It's like, maybe let's make a connection. But yeah, their date they did seem like he's the favorite, and they are definitely, it was the most I had felt them like into each other. But then we see things still go well at the beginning of the family date. So give us a rundown of that.
Yeah, well, so he was like, I promise you, my family is going to be like, he's so happy. And then they were like, hey, he's so happy. And then it just took a nosedive from there.
You just need to recap all these because you're funnier than me.
But his mom was also giving her the third degree about like, don't you break his heart and all this kind of stuff, and like asking
his family, you can definitely tell that he's the favorite. That's what somebody was like, do you think he's either the youngest or just the favorite or both? But like, you can tell because I mean, I get that they're a close-knit family. I get they're a close-knit family, but it was very much like, Greg, you are our world. Like,
yeah, and also like I was cracking up at how he was just streaming tears watching the videos of his sisters, and Katie was like, cool.
Yeah. Oh boy. And then that's where things start to head south. Okay, so let's get into it. They sit down on the couch, and Greg, his family's loving Katie. He's told them that he loves Katie and that she's the one. She's told his family, Greg is definitely getting a rose. He's here next week. So everything is perfect. What could go wrong?
Yeah. Which it was her way of trying to say that without saying it because she's not allowed to.
Right. So we get into it, and he's like, I'm just going to lay it all out there. And he's like impassioned and just like laying it all out of how he's never been happier. He's never talked to anybody like about his dad like that before. He's so in love with her. And then her reaction.
Cool story, bro.
She literally stares at him, just like with a little smile on her face. And then he says, what?
Yeah.
And what does she say?
She said, I just love looking at you.
He has poured his heart out about how much he's in love with her, how emotionally connected they are over their dads. And she says, I just love looking at you.
I know. And he's like, WTF, bitch.
Totally. So first reactions, and then we can break it all down. What was your first reaction just watching this whole thing unfold? Like, obviously, you were saying you're like, oh, good point, good point. But watching the initial like breakdown, not when they're talking through things, but like Greg is, because you literally see, to me, and I may have been an edit.
You see it flip the switch.
It's literally like he's like, and you can tell he goes from elated to pissed in like seconds. Yeah. So.
And she even said that. She was like poking him, like, your body language. He's like, what? Why am I mad? And she's like, cause clearly you're super mad. All your body language is telling me that you're super mad. And he's like, why?
So who did you relate to in that portion?
Oh, well, I think overall I was kind of on Greg's side, but I could see what her fear was, that she was where she was.
This is going to be good because overall I'm on Katie's side.
Oh, really?
But I also think that like Greg was completely justified to react the way that he did when she reacted that way. Like if I had poured, okay, so the people that were breaking it down too were like saying, you know, there's this whole thing of like, I'm not going to say I love you and da, 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 da. There are so many ways that they can say it without saying it, of being, and granted, as we'll get into, she did give him assurance after reassurance after reassurance after reassurance. But in that moment, as he's pouring his heart out, if it was a guy I was madly in love with, I would at least be like holding his hand or like rubbing his shoulder or like being physically close. They weren't even close on the couch together. And then when he's like upset because she didn't react, she's not like, hey, no. Like, you know how special you are to me. Or like, she's kind of just like, oh, that's not what I meant. Like, it was a very odd interaction.
It was very odd. Yeah, right. To me, it seemed like she froze. Like she was like, I don't know what to do, because she saw like the huge problem of how do we get from here to the end. And then, like, she just froze in that moment. That's what it seemed like to me.
So I empathize with her being like, deer in the headlights, but I also feel like she handled it super poorly because, and when he was like melting down and she was like, okay, let's just go outside. This is where I feel like she really did try to say, Greg, I've told you over and over. Like, I feel like she said it without saying it, of like, dude, I can't come out and say that I'm choosing you, but I'm choosing you. Like, I don't remember her exact wording, but it was so clear that she wasn't like, just trust the process. Like, she was very much like,
yeah, right. She said
it's going to be worth it. It's going to be worth it.
I have to go on these stupid ass other family visits and see these other people that I don't care about. And yeah, it seemed really clear.
She literally said, do you think it's fun for me to have to meet other guys' families and go on dates with other guys when all I'm thinking about is you? Like, that is like, there could not have been a more clear way for her to say, I'm choosing you. I just can't say I love you yet.
Yeah.
So I don't have a problem with the way their conversation went down that night, because I feel like they both were having genuine, their communication was bad and it was off. But the next day is what I had an issue with. What were you going to say?
I forgot.
All right, so they leave on a bad note, and then Greg is like, I can't do this. I'm going to peace out. And he goes to her room, of course. Break it down for me.
Well, he said this during the nighttime blow up, and then he said it again in the conversation in the room where he was like, I don't think you understand what I'm asking, like what I need from you right now. And she's like, yes, I do. I understand. I know what you're at. And it seemed to me like she didn't actually quite get what he was wanting, because if she did and she really liked him that much, she probably would have responded differently, wouldn't she? Don't you think?
Yes. I'm going to see if I can articulate my thoughts, because I was a little all over the place because I see different points of the issue. My gut reaction watching their conversation in the hotel room, my first, like, what I was feeling, obviously I will not name any names. I was in kind of a relationship years ago where somebody was kind of like emotionally abusive to me. And like, I have since learned I was gaslighted pretty bad, of just like, I don't know, just the way like the communication, I was made to feel like everything was my fault. And like if I was different, like it was just a really unhealthy, manipulative way of communicating. And so when I was watching it, I was really triggered of like, whoa, that's what Greg's doing to Katie. I've since seen other sides of it and like I see a little more balanced perspective. But in the moment, watching, I don't have a problem with him confronting her. I think that like I see where he was coming from of how she reacted. But then when she was like, Greg, I've said that like you're my number one. And he's like, I don't care about number one. I just need to know that like I'm it. And she's like, I'm telling you that you're it. And he's like, you don't get it, Katie. And she's like, well, what don't I get? Like, I'm literally trying to read, what do you want from me? And I feel like she tried every angle and he was just like, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. And I had an issue with, I felt like he was really playing mind games with her. He may not have intended to, but it was real cringe for me. But then somebody was pointing out, and it helped me understand his perspective a little bit more of like, I feel like when Katie was answering Justin's friends and was like, tell me about yourself. Oh, I'm the Bachelorette, blah, 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 blah. Katie, their point was that Katie has gotten so much into her role of like, yes, it's my job or my goal to find love, but it's also my job to be the Bachelorette. And so it's almost like she was getting too into like the roses, you're my number one, like the game mentality of it. And Greg's like, I don't care about those things. I want to be your one and only. And so it made more sense to me of like, okay, Katie's too concerned with the rules and he's like, screw the rules. I want you to be all about me. And Nick was saying, if my number one had like gotten up and walked out like Greg did, and I knew she was my number one, I would have tried to like hold it together until then. And then I would have been like, screw it all. Like, you're the one I want, don't leave, and would have like thrown it. And instead she was just kind of like, my hands are tied, instead of bucking the system. And so that made me a little more sympathetic to Greg. I don't know. I just felt like it was really not good. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with most of what you said. It didn't come off as gaslighting to me when he was talking to her. I was kind of like, I could see where he was coming from, but like I said, I could also see, I could also see why she felt like she was trapped, right? Because nothing that after he had decided that she'd betrayed him or whatever, like there really wasn't much she could have said.
I think that is what I think that's why it felt that way to me. It's probably because I'm a feeler and you're a thinker in that way of like you're able to see more of the logic. And I mean, we both see a little bit of both, but it just felt so much to me like I just kept cringing for her, thinking, I feel like I've been in that spot before, not in that spot, but like I've been in that spot where it's like, I don't know how to talk myself out of this one. And even if I haven't done anything wrong, we're just on such different, like, we're talking in two different languages. And so I don't even know how to give you what you need to, even though I genuinely want to, not because like, well, I don't know because I'm a fake, but like, I don't know how to me, I felt like she was genuinely at that point trying to save it. And it was just like, he had just been like, nothing that you say is what I need. And she's like, well, tell me what you need. No, because you don't get it. Well, how am I going to get it if you don't tell me? Well, you just don't get it. Like, so I felt pity for her, but I also felt like he was probably just so done after their conversation. So Greg was less of a villain to me after hearing the other perspectives and like seeing some of that. I'm like, okay, I can see both sides. But after like first watching it, I was like, whoo, Greg is the worst. He's so awful. And poor Katie. But then the more I like broke it down, I was like, okay, I sympathize with both perspectives for different reasons.
Yeah. And it is true. Like, what exactly is the scenario that he would have liked? It seemed like what he ideally would have wanted is for her to be like, screw the show, let's just leave, let's go. And like that wouldn't happen either.
That's another problem is they were talking on files about how Ben Higgins ruined everything. That's a Bachelor from like years ago. I didn't watch a season, but that he like told 2 girls that he loved them, and it was a huge controversy and drama. And then since then they've had like Colton ended his season early because his favorite person was going to leave, very similar to Greg, of like, I just need to know I'm your final one, and since you can't tell me that, I'm leaving. And he was like, you are my number one, and like chased her down and whatever. And they're like, people have set a precedence of you can end it early if it works for your situation, like if you're desperate enough. And so they were saying it's like Greg was expecting that of like, Colton did it for Cassie, so why don't you just say I
don't know. Is that true? Like, how much do we think Greg actually knows about the Bachelor franchise?
I don't know. And so maybe that's not it, but I think it's the same mentality, at least, of like, he was wanting in that moment her to be like, oh my word, Greg, I just love you so much too. And just like have a heart moment instead of, I just like looking at you. And so it was almost like he wanted her to say, screw it all, screw these other guys. I'm going with you right now and ride off into the sunset. And when she wasn't willing to do that because she's trying to like play the game, I don't even know, like, yes, they were saying it's like the Bachelorette is her identity and she's trying to play the game. I also feel like she is a logic person. Like my friend described her as kind of like a bulldog, and she's kind of like, I have to do all these things and like box all these things off. And so it's not gonna flow for her to be like, let me just follow you into the sunset.
Right.
I don't know.
She's not.
That's how I felt.
Chaos.
Yeah. No. So.
And so then he runs down and she runs down, and they're sitting there on the patio, like yelling at each other. And he's like, "Peace out."
Okay, I missed it. She said that she just wanted to hug him.
I know, again. Yeah, right.
I missed that. I was like, oh, really,
I cracked
Katie?
up when she said that. He was sitting there like sulking, and she comes running down and she goes, I just needed to hug you again. I was laughing so hard.
Just makes me cringe for her. Yeah. So, okay. So predictions. Is she going to try to win Greg back? She says it ends with, I want somebody to book my flight home. And end of story. That's what it ends on. And then it shows the preview of her mom saying, we don't put ourselves in a position to rely on a man. And it shows Blake and Justin being like, if this is the Greg show and she's still hung up on him, I'm out. So what do you think? What are your predictions? What happens?
I think she leaves.
Right away? Because her mom comes.
Yeah, right. I mean, yeah, it must not be right away, but I mean, like, I don't think she chooses someone at the end.
Nick is convinced that she chooses Blake a lot because of like how on Men Tell All she told Michael A, like, things happen for a reason and I'm really happy or whatever. I still think that means she's by herself. They were saying it sounds like she's with somebody. So I think she's by herself. That's my, like, if I had to take a side, that's my guess. Is her mom comes in, they try to talk things through, and she says, I just can't, I'm not here mentally, I can't do it. And so she bows out, is my guess. But the only other thing I could see happening is that she does, like, maybe her mom comes, they talk it through, and she tells whoever, Justin, I'm going to cancel fantasy suites. This is too much for me. I know who I'm going to pick, and I'm going to pick Blake or something. Like, she ends it early, I feel like, no matter what. And I think she ends it and is alone. But that's my only other thing I could see happening, is her being like, I'm not going to go through with this and do fantasy suites and
maybe she just does the fantasy suites and then says, oh, that was fun. Peace out, everybody.
Bang and bounce. No, yeah. So we will soon see. I'm kind of ready to have this season over with. I feel like she's been an okay Bachelorette, but I just haven't felt like there was like a true, I mean, I know it's reality TV, but I haven't felt like there's like a gripping love story where you're like rooting for her and someone. It's like, yeah, she seems like she's buddies and good friends with all these guys.
Yeah, right.
But I'm not like, oh, I'm so excited about this.
They haven't teased anything in any of the previews of like fantasy suites, really. And it seems like that would
it was just more like the drama with the boys. So yeah. I think we're right.
Because we're really good at guessing twists and things.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so all the fans our vast fan base, let us know. We're planning to recap Survivor. We don't have all the time in the world. We can't do a million shows, but would you I don't even know. We'll have to talk about it. Any interest in recap of Bachelor in Paradise or the next Bachelorette season or Big Brother or any of these other shows?
Yeah. What are your favorite reality shows to watch?
Yeah, we should put up a poll. But for now, comment. And I feel like I was going to say something else. I'm really excited for Bachelor in Paradise because Wells Adams has teased the heck out of it and talked about how perhaps the greatest couple in all of Bachelor history, he feels like comes out of this season, and that there's one guy that everybody's going to be rooting for to be the Bachelor. And so I'm really eager to see what all that's about. So yeah, that's my plug.
All right. Well, next week we'll decide what we want to do. Because our horde of fans will be beating down the doors telling us what we need.
Yeah, feel free to send us fan mail and tell us what you want to see from us. In like snail mail, preferably. All right. Thanks for joining, everyone. Oh, hi, Carly. You're too late, but love you. All right. Bye.
All right. I'm ending Instagram. Bye, everybody. And I'm ending YouTube.